Good evening and welcome to Ghana Connect, a new dawn for journalism in Ghana.
Why don't we work with Parliament to enact laws to deal with such situations?
We should have a voice on the critical issues that happen in this country.
We need to prepare our retirement package, and this is part of the scheme we are going to set for journalists. Scholarship schemes.
Really? Is it a new dawn? Is it a new dawn or just a mere election? One that will keep the old wheel grinding slowly and screeching and even getting more rusty with time. For close to 2 years, the Ghana Journalists Association has not been able to organize simple elections to elect new leaders. The whole process has been delayed unnecessarily, fraught with legal tussles, and finally, when the stakeholders came to some compromise, the president of the elections committee resigned. Bad omen? Well, the process continued, and soon we'll find out who our leaders are. But the more important question tonight is this the beginning of a process that will restore the GJA to its days of glory and take its place as a strong voice in the building of our nation? Ghanaians, journalists, home and abroad, will connect to explore. And you're live on Joy 99.7 FM. This is Ghana Connect with me, Ernest Manu. So it's been nearly 2 years since the Ghana Journalists Association attempted to organize a new elections to elect new leaders after the expiration of the term of the AFL money-led administration. The process has not been smooth. It's been fraught with many challenges, accusations upon accusations. It's been to court and back. Today, finally, the polls was conducted, and from what we understand, the counting actually is underway. Over 800 journalists were expected to show up at the various centers to cast their ballot and elect new leaders for the Ghana Journalists Association. Very soon we'll take you there for the final results because they are being collated, but we have some provisional results that we'll share with you as the program goes on. But that is not really the focus of our conversation tonight. We really want to have a conversation about the status, the strength of the GJA and its positioning in our current dispensation. Many of us journalists admit that the GJA has not been strong enough to fight the battles that are presented to us, that we confront, as journalists in this day and age. Going forward, will this election be the process of charting a new path for journalism in Ghana? Is this going to be the process that will see the Ghana Journalists Association take its place once again as a very strong institution in the building of this nation, or is just a mere elections that will see the status quo remain? Well, Ghanaians are connecting home and abroad to connect, and of course, journalists to discuss our issues. So joining me via Zoom for tonight's conversation is Elvis Darko. Elvis is the editor of the Finder newspaper. Hello, Elvis. Hello, Elvis. Elvis, you have to unmute. I can see you on the Zoom, but I think you have to unmute your device so we can hear you.
Is it on mute?
Yes,
my device is not on mute.
I can hear you now, Elvis. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening.
Good evening. Were you at the press center this afternoon to vote?
Unfortunately not.
Why not? You are not in good standing.
Exactly.
Why is that? Well, we'll get into that, Elvis. We'll find out why you are not in good standing with the Ghana Journalists Association. Let's also...
I'll be glad to share.
Very well. And let's find out. Is Daniel on Zoom with us? Daniel? Well, Daniel is not yet on Zoom. My colleague Daniel Dazi will join us from the UK. But also joining us from the UK is Foz. Foz is a friend to the show, and Foz is a journalist. He's practiced here in Ghana, but has lived in the UK for a very long time and practices there. He joins us on the show. Hello, Foz.
Hello, Ernest. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us. We also have Shamima Muslim, the convener of ALMA, Alliance for Women in Media, also joining us on the phone. Hello, Shamima. It's always good to have you here on Ghana Connect.
Hello, it's good to be on the show again. Good evening.
Good evening. I am not sure you were at the press center today.
No, I wasn't. When Elvis spoke, I was just laughing that you were going to ask me this.
Definitely. I was going to ask you. And it's because you are not properly registered, you are not in good standing. Shamima, why is that?
Even if I were, today was not a good day at all. I wouldn't have been able to go and vote. which is also not a good excuse, especially if we're all to contribute to building a more robust association.
Well, thank you very much, Shamima, for joining us. We'll be joined shortly by the Media Foundation for West Africa's Chief Executive Director, Suleiman Barima, as we have this conversation. But let me start with you, Elvis. Why are you not in good standing as far as the GJA is concerned?
Well, I'm not in good standing because I think GJA is not applying the rules fairly to everybody in the association. And therefore, I decided that I will not pay my dues. And that is the conditions for being in good standing. The reason is simple. The GJA Constitution mandates every member to pay dues. It's only when you pay your dues that you are considered as a member in good standing. And GJA is a voluntary association. So you decide to join or not to join. But the Constitution is clear that for you to be a member, you must pay your dues to remain a member. So I joined the GJA, and actually I pay my dues at a go. Every year I just go and pay all at a go. But developments popped up, and I realized that there's some unfairness happening in the system. You are an association that is voluntary. You say people must pay dues to be considered as members in good standing. And these people that you consider to be in good standing, even when you put out releases for GJA awards, you state categorically that if you are not a member in good standing, you do not qualify to apply for GJA awards. And then even when people who are not in good standing apply for awards, you ask them to come and pay up before their entries will even be considered. But it turned out that the GJA will end up giving awards to people who are actually not members at all of the association. So I asked myself, if somebody who is not a member at all can be given an award, then I also sit back and do my work as a journalist. After when GJA finds it necessary that I deserve an award, they will give it to me.
Elvis, can you give us an example to back this issue?
But the principle is not awards per se, but the principle and the position of the Constitution is what I think that the association is not applying fairly to everybody. And that's one of the reasons I think that the GJA needs a lot of work to be done.
But if the GJA recognizes that there are people who are doing some good work, whose work must be acknowledged, what is the problem with that?
But why is that somebody who is a member but is owing dues will not be recognized because his owing dues is considered not a member, is not in good standing? That's the bottom line. If GJA is not asking anybody to pay dues, and dues is not a condition for being a member in good standing, if they give an award to anybody, I have no problem with that. But when the Constitution is clear, if you say that you are only a member of the association in good standing when you don't owe dues, and somebody who is even a member has paid dues but is only maybe 6 months or 1 year dues, is considered as not a member in good standing. I have paid my dues for GJA for like 5-6 years continuous non-stop, but I couldn't go and vote today because my name will not be on the register as a member in good standing. Why? Because I am owing dues. So if you are applying the rules, let it apply. As I said, GJA is a voluntary organization. You choose to join. You choose not to join. So the rules must apply. If you say, if I join, these are the rules, I expect the rules to apply fairly to everybody. So that's why I said that I consider the GJA now as for every journalist in Ghana, whether you are a member or not. That is why I decided then I also don't need to pay dues to be considered as a member of GJA.
Okay.
However, if I had gone there today to vote, I will not be allowed to vote because my name will not be on the list of members in good standing because I'm owing dues. So I think that the constitutional provision needs to be applied fairly. If we have to remove that from the Constitution and say GJA should not be a membership organization, it should be for all journalists in Ghana. So you don't need to pay any dues. You don't need to write your name there to be a member. So it applies to everybody in Ghana. Like every journalist in Ghana today would have walked to any offices of the voting centers across Ghana to go and vote. But prior to the voting, they publish a list of members in good standing and says they are the only ones who qualify to vote. So I see disparities in the way they apply the rules. And that is why the Constitution itself should be one of the things that the current executive, the newly elected executives, will need to look at. If we want to make GJA for every journalist in Ghana, then we should remove the conditions for membership from it. Then we know that it is there serving the interest of everybody who is in the media space in Ghana. Then the membership condition should be removed.
Well, I must say that even the list that you talk about was one of the reasons why the elections delayed for many, many months, running into almost 2 years. But Shamima, the payment of dues is consistent with many associations in the country. What is wrong if the GJA makes that a necessary requirement for being in good standing? And let me mention that I'm doing this with my colleague, Kweku Asante. Shamima.
Right. Thank you very much. I honestly don't have a problem with paying dues to an association that I am a member of. I think that if we want to build, again, using the previous word, robust organizations, especially for a journalism association that wants to become ethical and independent in thought and in deed, they've got to be self-sufficient in some ways, in terms of how they raise money for their basic administrative, operational expenditure. So to that extent, I don't have any problem with the association requesting for dues. As to whether or not non-payment of dues should debar you from contributing towards electing leaders, I think that we have to have a bit of conversation about it. If the Constitution takes it as a requirement, then the leaders would not have done anything wrong to enforce that. If it's not in the Constitution and you're arbitrarily applying that provision, then there's a cause to worry, like Elvis said. I don't know what the Constitution states with respect to that angle, but in principle, I don't have a problem with an association agreeing that members should contribute towards the running of the organization.
Well, Shamima, fortunately, we're joined by the outgone, or should I say outgoing president of the GJA, Roland Afel-Money. Maybe you help us understand some of these things.
Yes.
Mr. Money, thank you very much for joining us here on Ghana Connect. We're calling first of all to find out, you watched over the elections today. What will be your assessment of the process?
Actually, per Article 4.3 of the GJA Constitution, it is the election committee which runs the election. So I only cast my vote and did it wisely, and so I did there in a better position to speak to anything register or election related.
Indeed, but of course you've been acting as president even though your term has expired, and you have had keen interest in making sure that this process happens so you could hand over successfully to whoever we elect today. Tell me what you make of what has happened today, at least from your own observation.
It is sad that litigations, suspicions, outlandish allegations, slanderous accusations, and all the negatives you can think of are becoming a dominant theme of the election. The last election was characterized by same group of people went to court. Indeed, my arch competitor went to court claiming that I wasn't fit to be president. So when it came for court, the judge said, how do I decide who is fit to be your president? So the issue to be tackled outside his premises, and went to ADR, and a date was set, and then I swept the post. Fast track, and then we came to the judge in the election. Again, when nominations had been opened and closed, and the date was about to be announced for the election to be held, some people went to court again with allegations that somebody was trying to steal the election. So our judge, our lawyer, Captain Ladianyeni, may God bless him inestimably, argue that how do you prove corruption before if it is even permitted? And in his words, this is the most useless case he has ever handled in his career as a lawyer. Again, the government chair, it took the wisdom of government chair to intervene, and it was settled out of court. The date was set, and thank God, the election passed off peacefully. So it's a feeling of that cathartic feeling that at the end of it all, we've come to the end of the finishing line. And whether we like it or not, we have a fresh open president in the name of Albert Babajufo. I only put in one vote, and the journalists decided that he is the one who is fit for service and worthy of honor as president of GJA. May have nothing except to say that all the contestants should come together so that we pull in one direction, redeem the time we have lost, and rediscover our position among the committee of civil society organizations.
Okay, so we are hearing for the first time that Albert Jumfor has actually won the elections. And has this officially been declared by the EC?
Yes, the result has been officially declared. Albert Jumfor has won the election. I think he won by 173 votes as against the figures. I don't have the figures exactly, but the fact is that he won. He beat his main contender, Gerd Mensah, by more than 100 votes, followed by Dave Agbenu.
But Mr. Moni, the conversation we are having tonight on Ghana Connect is about how all of these issues have weakened the Ghana Journalists Association. From where you sit, from all the issues that came up leading to these elections, much anticipated, however delayed, what would be your advice to the administration, even as they take over from you, in order to ensure that this doesn't recur?
I think one characteristic of a good leader is to win the hearts of the people and ensure they encourage the hearts of the people to work. A lot of, as I said, investigating suspicions, allegations, slanderous allegations, and all that have characterized the election. People are hurt, and the wounds are deep. So it's to take a very good leader to assuage the hurt and bring everybody on board. As a Malian proverb has it, no one finger can wash the face. No individual can propel the GJA to the heights it deserves to be. It takes the collective effort of membership to ensure that we not only within the time, but we work assiduously to meet the lofty expectations of our people.
Elvis Darko, I'm sure you know him. He's editor of the Finder newspaper. He's also on the show, connecting with us on Zoom. Now, he raises issues with the Ghana Journalists Association, and his view actually represents the views of many who say the GJA has not been attractive in the last few years. The key issue he raises, for instance, is why the GJA will go ahead to award persons who are not members registered and in good standing as defined as a member who pays his dues, and yet denies others who consistently pay their dues. That for him is a disincentive, and so today he could not vote because he's failed to pay his dues in the last year or two, and that really is not encouraging for him. He thinks that the GJA must look at that. What's your view on that?
In all fairness, I think this question is rooted in mentality, because for I was to say that GJA is no more attractive is something consistent with the fact on the ground. Look at the number of people who are scrambling, who are making inquiries about GJA. Our numbers are climbing, not declining. So historically, we are growing and not shrinking. So it's not correct. It's totally incorrect for everybody to say that GJA is not attractive. It's rather from you don't need it to
Elvis, I'll come to you shortly.
Come to this conclusion that we are growing in numbers, and in terms of profile, I doubt if there's any civil society which can feel or which can match in terms of GJA, in terms of visibility, in terms of profiling, in terms of championing certain causes in the interest of the members. Internationally, we are the brackets of one of the best in the whole world. The IFJ is there for him to verify. And so for somebody to say GJA is unattractive,
well, just to clarify, the unattractive is my word, and I'm reporting what.
How do you use the word attractive?
Yes, Elvis didn't say that. I used that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was my word. Elvis's issue was with the payment of dues, but still on this issue of awards, for instance, because that generates a lot of controversy in the association. For instance, people have issues with the GJA awarding the ASA, during a Ghana Journalist Association awards. For a lot of people, that doesn't even come up.
For the record, my administration reversed the award given to the ASA as the best program of the year. We thought
it was reversed. You say
it was reversed. Yes, we reversed on the record that we reversed that decision. And because we did it in for the interest of the integrity of the awards, and ensure that we do not chip in it in any way. So that decision has been reversed. That decision by the awards committee has been reversed, and as the record stands, nobody won the program of the year. The ASA still does not treat the bill.
And just finally, before you go, we have others on the line. We'll have the conversation about how we can make the GJA much stronger going forward. With the benefit of hindsight, would you say that you have delivered on your mandate as journalist, as president of the GJA?
It is
satisfactory,
inconsistent with my personality and incongruous with my principles to blow my own horn. But in some rare circumstances, I ring my own bell. And I'll speak to the fact. And the fact is that my administration unionized the GJA, and this unionization dream had been incubating for years, became a unionized. What we need to do now is to matriculate the unionized body into one with the bargaining power, which can negotiate better working conditions and salaries. It is my administration which, for the first time in the history of Ghana, hosted the entire global media community. That is a fact. For the first time, we hosted the entire leadership of journalists in Africa. That is a fact. For the first time, we've rolled out housing policy, housing program. Members who started with 60,000 to 80,000 cities had their houses at Pampasi. That is a fact. Those who paid have their houses. That is a fact. For the first time in the history of this country, we're going to, GJA is more than 70 years. We've signed an MOU to transform, redevelop the entire space at Press Center and demolish the present structure which we inherited as a colonial bungalow into a 50-story structure which will house media-related organizations as well as National Media Commission and RTR Commission. And the one unique feature of this project is that it is 80% commercial. So apart from providing office accommodation, it also serves as a revenue spinner for the DJ, which is overly dependent on donors for their financial figures.
Very well. So you're saying essentially that you think that you have satisfactorily delivered and the new administration should be able to take on from there?
Certainly, yes. Leadership is continuous, so it's the new administration to build up from where we left off.
Well, we'll leave it here for now, Mr. Manu, and I'm grateful that you could join us. At a much later date, we'll have a much detailed conversation about your tenure as president of the GJA. But one thing he mentioned, Kweku, was that the GJA is very attractive, one of the best in the sub-region and even internationally. Let's speak to our friends joining us outside the country. Daniel is on Zoom with us. Hello, Daniel. We seem to have lost him again, but we have
Hi, Ernest. What's up?
Oh, Daniel, you're here. How are you doing?
Yeah. I'm not bad at all. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'll be coming to you shortly to tell us how journalism in Ghana is viewed from the UK where you are. But Foss is also in the UK. Foss, let me hear you on this. Foss, is journalism in Ghana that respected and attractive, from the outside?
Well, thank you very much, and a very good evening to your listeners. And I really appreciate the fact that you've asked a very straightforward question, but I have to give you a winded answer. We have to look at it from a different points of view, because at the end of the day, people in Ghana, or people view Ghana journalism as journalists, and they've just put everybody in the same brackets. Well, the GJA should have done loads of work, and some of the questions that I would have loved to ask Alfred, Mr. Money, when he was on earlier on, was to actually find out. He said he's been attractive, so what has he done to actually galvanize people? Some of the things he said is just basically easy for anybody to come and talk about some of the things they think they've done. But is it really reflective on the ground? I don't know about that, because I've had my own battles in the past anyway. However, in the union journalist, by other media, reputable media houses here, and used as the basics, most of them are seen as a wishy-washy. And what do I mean by that? We cannot clearly differentiate between bloggers, journalists, media house personnel, and people just giving their opinions. The GJA has come a long way. For example, in the UK, they've had a union where everybody who calls himself a journalist subscribes to. So the level of integrity, the level of respect has been generated and is being followed. And if you do something that is against the union, you're struck out. It's not about just taking money from people, but you have to re-educate them. When was the last time the GJA in Ghana did something along the lines of training journalists? Because we have to look at all these things. And so some of the reporting in Ghana is frowned upon, because sometimes even in the, I'll give you a very typical example. Something we call a Child Protection Act that protects every child, even if they are involved in an innocent problem or innocent situation or scenario. But there comes a time that you see real journalists who have been to school and done all the courses, showing the faces and actually marking that face of the child. Are real journalists? Have we gone as far as training those journalists how to even report those things? So it's frowned upon, and some work they do is loved. However, I think the new administration coming in need to really sit down and find the best way to address training, galvanizing, and directing the affairs of the true journalists, or the people doing the good jobs in Ghana.
First, thank you. But let me stay in the UK and speak to Daniel. Daniel, I mean, you know the terrain very well. We practiced here before you left us in Ghana. From watching from where you are now, what do you think we need to do if we are to make the GJA very strong going forward, and chart a new course for the GJA and make it a stronger institution?
I think that, first of all, we must ask ourselves, and hi, Ernest, hi, everyone. It's been a while since I spoke to you, Elvis, and Foss as well. Great to meet you guys again. To your question, Ernest, I think that we must ask ourselves what kind of journalists we are producing, what kind of journalism that we want to see. There are existential questions about journalism in Ghana that the GJA is only a part of. That's, if we want to get the right results, we must demand for them to be a part of that solution. I think the bigger question in Ghana is the question of media freedom. And I was happy to hear, for instance, that monies are being made available to journalists to get houses and what have you. It's not a bad idea, because we know that if we want to... Look, Ernest, you and I know the biggest problems with journalism in Ghana. And I'll be very blunt. Journalists don't earn enough. to be independent from politicians and businessmen. And as a result, it looks like the GJA has not been able to build that level of independence. I was just reading how the GJA at a point has had to go and seek sponsorship from government to go and do their own programs. We know that in 2017, the GJA put out a statement immediately after Manasseh did an investigation asking that Ghanaian journalists should be circumspect when they are reporting on businessmen, so that they don't seem to be putting businessmen on a media trial, and they are not seen to be witch hunting people. At the heart of it, Ernest, let's be honest, people don't have money. If people don't have money, people will do what the people who have money wants them to do. That's the biggest problem facing journalism.
But Daniel, really, the question is, how much? I get the issue of remuneration. I mean, there's no debate about how poor it is in the country. People literally work for free in this country as journalists, and so it must get better. But I guess the problem is when we tie remuneration to independence, because the question then becomes, how much is enough to get a journalist to be independent?
Ernest, that's a very simple question to answer. It's only difficult in a system that we never come to see enough. You see, the bedrock of these economic issues is there are national structural economic issues that people have to deal with. When they pay you, what is the currency going to be worth in a few months versus inflation and all of that? But I was just creating a bedrock for us to have the conversation from. The issue is about quality journalism and protecting quality journalism. I want to know if the GJA is so passionate about ethical journalism, how much work of quality journalists has the GJA tried to sponsor? If the GJA is so passionate about ethical journalism, what role does the GJA play on the National Media Commission? When the Media Commission is taking decisions, do we see the GJA behaving as a union, or we see the GJA behaving as a member, which takes, excuse my language, which also goes to take their per diem? We are living in a country where government can take a journalist to the Media Commission. Journalists would go and question the Media Commission. The GJA will be silent. If someone is dragged to court, if a journalist is slapped, what is their union doing for them? I mean, there are unions in Ghana that do the work. If you are talking about a union, you don't need to travel. There are unions in Ghana that are doing the work. If something happens with the TUC, you can immediately see heads rolling. When the drivers don't have enough, when taxi drivers don't have enough transport, they immediately close down the transportation system in Ghana. Nobody takes taxis, nobody goes to work. We are talking about the GJA supporting its members, standing up for its members. When journalists were being killed, when journalists were being attacked, pardon me, what was the GJA doing? Our World Press Freedom ranking was going down as a result of attacks on media freedom, what were we doing? When multimedia outside, when we started the Defend Media Freedom campaign, where was the GJA to be found? Those are some of the questions that the GJA must be seen to be answering. Also, what work is the GJA doing about the future of journalism? The world is going digital. Regulation of the media space is changing each and every day. And you go into policy rooms and you realize that our laws, our systems do not fit our current mode or where the world is going when storytelling is concerned. Where is the GJA in leading these conversations? At the heart of it, it's sad that we may not know the questions to ask in order to achieve quality journalism. So we may not know the questions to ask of the GJA. But the basic that you ask for every union is that when I am at work, I should feel protected from my employers.
And you've got my back.
That's the basic any worker should have.
Right.
That if you do a story today, your union must protect you if your employers won't.
Right, Daniel.
Sorry, I don't see it.
Yeah,
Kweku wants to come
Daniel,
in here.
so
Daniel.
you make some very interesting points over there. Daniel, this is Kweku Asante. You are looking very great from UK. Yeah.
Leave me alone.
Let me go to Elvis. And Daniel has laid it out all that is wrong with the GJA. I mean, how does the GJA reinvent itself, get a kind of support from journalists? Because today was like election day for journalists. Most people probably didn't know about it or were just not concerned. How can journalists get into the fold of GJA and right some of the wrongs that Daniel has just talked about? Elvis.
Number one, GJA should take a critical look at application for membership. How swift the GJA responds to people's application. Today, if you talk to many people who are willing to join the GJA, many will tell you that they filed application to GJA for 1 year, 2 years, 6 months, 3 years, and they never had any feedback from GJA. Some even go there to follow up, and they don't get any feedback whether GJA has scrutinized the application, whether they met the criteria to be accepted as members or not. You will not get it. So the new administration that is coming up, number one is to look at that aspect and give themselves that if somebody should apply for GJA membership, maximum 2 months, we should give the person a feedback and say, based on the constitution, ABC, we think that you qualify to be a member, or you do not qualify, or you need to do this to meet the criteria to be accepted as a member. That is number one that the GJA must do. Number two, the GJA will have to make sure that those who have won should sit up, call those who have lost, and say, all of you propagated very good ideas. Let's sit together. Let's put all these ideas together. Let's select the ones that we believe that are the most pressing for solution to the problem of journalists in this country. Let's put it together. Even if it is possible, call for application for proposals, and then come up with a policy document that will make the GJA the kind of institution all of us desire to say. Then they should go ahead and make sure that they implement the content of those the recommendations in that policy. 3, there has to be a very, very close collaboration between the Ghana Journalists Association, the Private Newspaper Publishers Association, and the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association. I say this because the journalist is working for a GIBA member and belongs to a GJA. As Daniel has said, the journalist should feel protected from his or her employer, that if I'm doing my work and my employer is putting certain impediments on my way, I should be able to report to my union, and my union should be there for me. The GJA should then move on to the critical issue I've always mentioned this time, is about capacity of the journalist. I say that you can only give what you have. We have a system in Ghana where, because we are hiding behind press freedom and freedom of speech, we are opening up the media space that just anybody at all can have access to the media. I'm not talking about necessarily because of educational qualification, but what I'm saying is that the media is such a powerful tool that if we allow people to have access, this must be people that we know that have the capacity, understand what professional journalism is about, and will apply it. Currently, if you look at the media space, we see a lot of unprofessional things happening in the space. And I believe that if the GJA takes a serious view of the unprofessionalism in the industry, they have to look at the capacity of who and who should have the power to practice. And this they will do in collaboration with GIBA, because it's the employer that is going to employ the person. If there's an understanding that if you just employ just anybody, the potential for damage could cost you a lot. And therefore, let's collaborate and say that we have set up this standard. If you have to take on anybody as a GIBA member, owner of a media house, let the person meet this criteria before you take the person on, so that we can sanitize the unprofessional practice, and then we can have people who they have access to the media. Whatever they put out there, it's a professional journalistic
But Elvis,
work.
there are also freelancers. So the question that I want to ask about membership and professionalism is, do you think that GJA should be heading towards a licensing regime where journalists are licensed?
I wanted to say something about it.
As I said, we may not necessarily go for a licensing regime, okay? But if the GJA develop a set of criteria, they have a thorough discussion with GIBA, who are the owners of the media houses and employ the journalists, and say that for the sake of professional and quality journalism, if you want to employ anybody as a journalist, the media is a powerful tool. The person must meet these criteria for you before you give the access to the media. That is the only way we can ensure professional journalism. But see, there will be a little misunderstanding between the GJA and the GIBA in the sense that the moment you set those criteria and looking for high quality professionals, it means that the employer will now have to pay the journalists very well. And therefore, the GIBA members are likely to fight GJA over this issue. But I believe that if we won't have the profession at heart, and we make the owners know that for your media house to even thrive, it will depend on quality journalism. So what we are doing, we are either helping you, the owner, to have a professional media house. So now don't pick anybody, because see, the power of the media that we have, when we allow it, and we see it in this country. Yesterday, there was a report in the media and in notable media houses that there was an Ebola outbreak in Ghana. But the truth was that it was just a simulation exercise. A simulation exercise was reported by a professional journalist in notable media houses that Ghana has recorded an Ebola case. You can imagine somebody has gone to report that, excuse me to say, alleged that some terrorists have attacked people on our borders and the security decide to respond. So we shouldn't take the power that the media has for granted. We should make sure that it's time to sanitize the industry.
Okay.
Anybody that has interest to practice, let's help the person build the capacity, meet the certain standard, then the person will be allowed to practice.
All right,
Elvis.
Elvis.
Very important. We should also look at the condition of service of the journalist.
Okay, Elvis, this condition of service argument is very important. I mean, it goes to the core of journalists and whether or not they're able to do their work professionally. Good time to bring in Shamima Muslim. And Shamima, for the first time, we've heard from the outgoing GJA president that Mr. Jumfor has now been elected as the new president of the association. You know Mr. Jumfor, you follow the campaign. Are you surprised about this outcome, and what are your expectations?
Well, I wouldn't say if I'm surprised or I'm not surprised, but it is what it is, and he must know that there's a Herculean task ahead of him, because no matter how much we want to believe that the GJA is strong, we know that there are many more people who do not feel that the GJA is where it should be. Because really, Ghana, where we are, and the gains we have made in terms of media development, locally, we should have had many more journalists, wanting to be and loving the GJA and being represented by, the association. So there's a lot of work that the next crop of leaders need to do. And they must come into the space with some level of humility and willingness. Willingness to listen, willingness to engage, willingness to mobilize. And through the power of innovation, advocacy, and inclusivity, design a new image for the GJA.
Shamima, you know Mr. Jumfor. Do you think he's the new man to lead the association to its new destination?
I don't know his leadership capacity. I've not worked with him. I've just witnessed him from afar. But I hope that he is ready to take the mantle. Because, like everybody is saying, right now, a lot of journalists need their welfare to be taken care of. And an association that needs to be vibrant needs to be responsive to its members this way. So we have to look at the issue of welfare, decent pay, shelter, and mobility. This is the major headache for the average journalist. Decent pay, shelter, and mobility. So the initiatives that Mr. Apple Money said he started, we need to go back again and look at it. The process of unionizing that is almost not yet complete, we need to complete it. So that journalists like unions, look, NAGRAS has a plaza where members can, contribute and earn something and build a certain life. They have access to mortgages. So we must look at innovating beyond what we are currently used. And the fact is that we don't even need to go back and reinvent the wheel. Because today, for me, the GJA should be at the forefront of media development. And they have the benefit of all of these global reports and global studies to be able to replicate some of these locally in terms of the research. Because if Alfred Money, and I know him, he's been very supportive of my Alma dream, so I know that he has his good side. But of course, any leader has challenges, and he's had a share of those challenges. But his chapter is closing. This new chapter must look at how they position GJA as a research-driven institution. So if you say that there's this number of new journalists joining the association, how many journalists are operating in Ghana do we know? Do we even have a head count? But for the benefits of some of these media development agencies, we wouldn't have had an understanding of our journalism landscape. So GJA, in redefining itself, must look at things like press freedom reports. They must be at the forefront of generating these annual reports. Okay. They must be at the forefront of advocating for laws that seek to restrict press freedom. They must be proactive in looking at supporting and working with media owners and media organizations to relook at the model, because one issue with the pay is because of where global media flows are moving towards. And you will be surprised to hear that between 2016 and 2021, worldwide media users moved from traditional media into online. So we have 2.3 billion people moving and to online who were on online in 2016, and 4.2 billion in 2021. So naturally, traditional media models need to also respond.
Very well.
Because advertising revenue is moving, and a robust, responsive association must be working with media organizations to figure out how to make media organizations financially sustainable in order that they can also pay journalists well.
So that we can uphold the independence that we talk about. Shamima, thank you. But we also joined by Mohammed. Mohammed has rejoined. We lost the connection to him. He's rejoined us via Zoom. Mohammed, if you can just unmute for me so we can have your comment about the Ghana Journalists Association. Mohammed is joining us from Nigeria. Mohammed, how do you see the association from where you are?
Thanks for having me, but I've worked with quite a lot of Ghanaian journalists, notable from the radio and even print. I don't think I have a whole lot to say about the association in Ghana. Rather, probably, if you ask me what is obtainable here in Nigeria, and from the discussions which I've been following so far, I feel we have a similar problem. If you allow me to speak further, I would say our biggest problem in Nigeria is the fact that, if I'm not mincing words, in fact, more than 80% of personalities that that operate in the industry do not belong to the union. That's very shocking. People call themselves journalists. They either write for big national dailies here or even in the broadcast industry, but they do not belong to the union. And you want to ask me why? For a union that was established in 1955, even before Nigeria's independence, the Nigerian Union of Journalists was established here in 1955, before 5 years before Nigeria's independence. But it's been shocking that the union has not really got its house in order, making so many journalists not really, want to be part of the union.
And is that the only body you have for journalists? And I'll come round first, Daniel and Elvis, on this question. There's been the controversial suggestion of creating a rival body for the GJA. Is that that's? Do you have a rival body for your association in Nigeria?
No, there is no rival body. There are affiliates bodies actually. Like we have Sport Writers Association of Nigeria, which are actually affiliate bodies of the NUJ. We have NAWOJ, National Association of Women Journalists.
Okay.
These are actually affiliate bodies. The NUJ is an offshoot of the kind of economy that we run, I would say. You understand? Because everything depends largely on government. And if your government, not even government, if businesses are sponsoring journalists, you lose your independence to checkmate the wrongdoings either on the side of government and on the part of businesses. And it's so appalling. Sometimes you open up our newspapers, you listen to news, and you can tell, even without going to journalism school, that these are paid for news. You understand? Press releases. Where is the place for investigative journalism, despite all the rot that we have in our country, and I would say
I
our
guess
continent?
the issues are quite similar. And Mohammed, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. Let me go around, even as we wrap up on the conversation. Kweku, first of all, run us through the provisional figures that has come through, and then we'll take the final thoughts of our guests as they would also consider the issue of a rival body.
So, Ernest, if you look at the results from the press center, Dave Agbenu had 30, Mr. Gihad Mensah 40, Mr. Albert Jumfor had 72. If you go to the Western region, Mr. Agbenu had 1, Mr. Gihad Mensah had 13, Mr. Albert Jumfor had 4. Ghanaian Times, 31 for Mr. Dave Agbenu, 13 for Mr. Gihad Mensah, and then 4 for Albert Jumfor. If you go to the voter region, 4 for Agbenu, 15 for Mr. Mensah, Gihad, and then 23 for June 4. If you look at the total of the results that we've had so far from Volta, Northern, Ashanti region, Central, Upper West, Upper East, Graphic, Tema, GNA, Press Center, Western region, Ghanaian Times, Bono region, Eastern region, and the GBC, it winds up to about Mr. Dave Agbenu having 142 votes, Mr. Gihad Mensah 181 votes, and then Mr. Albert K. Jumfor 233 votes, giving him such a comfortable lead. And it's no surprise that the former president, Afel Money, is confirming that he might have been declared victor of the election.
There's one thing you see, I mean, throughout the centers, and if you look at the constituencies, the numbers from state media, for instance, quite low relatively, because they have very huge numbers in terms of the employment figures, but very few people are part of the association. And even on that list, not everybody showed up today to vote. That tells a story. Elvis, let me come to you for your final comments on our conversation today.
Sure. I've always made this point that we all talk about journalism, public interest journalism, but we don't discuss who should pay for it in this country. And this is a conversation that must be had in this country, because we all want quality standard journalism. But if the condition of service of the journalist is so poor, how do you expect that journalist to do the kind of work that we expect from them? That is why the issue of condition of service is so critical. We need to be able to talk about this issue. We need to tackle the issue of, you see, one thing that is happening that we are not paying attention is that because just anybody at all is being allowed access to the media, what is happening is that even though we are all seeing the unprofessionalism on the rise, we don't want to talk about it because employers feel that they don't need to pay such people any huge amount for them to accept to work for them. And therefore, employers are actually going in for just anything that they see because they want to pay people just anything. And in the result is that you're going to get a lot of unprofessional work in the system. That is why the issue of capacity of who qualifies to practice as a journalist must be a critical issue that must be addressed. The moment we go in for quality, you realize that the professionalism will rise. I can tell you that anybody who is a professional will not be associated with a poorly done job, because your reputation, your image is at stake.
Very well.
But when you just pick just anybody, and because the person will accept anything you offer, you give the person access to the media, then the level of unprofessionalism will keep rising. And that is why it's important that the GJA that is coming, that the Primpa and Giba should look at the fact that those that will accept the recommendations to get in quality people are the only ones that can boast of quality journalism. And they are the ones that people will trust. So it's important for us to address these issues so that the standard we all yearn for, that Ghana journalism can be compared to what happens anywhere else, can happen in this country.
Elvis, we ran out of time on this. We ran out of time on this, but I'm grateful that you could join us. Daniel, just 30 seconds, please. Hello, Daniel. Well, we seem to have lost connection to Daniel, to Force, and all the others. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for connecting with us here on Ghana Connect. My name is Ernest Manu, starting for Evans Mensa. Up next is The Locker Room here on Joy 99.7 FM.